Hey everyone, it's me, Stephen J.B. Davis, your land specialist and residential realtor here in the Bluegrass region of Kentucky. I'm not on my roof. This is a COVID update of sorts. I know that is like a catchphrase these days to say COVID update. I mean, DoorDash is giving you a COVID update. Your city council people are giving you COVID updates. The news is giving you COVID updates. But I'm giving you a COVID update. It's a little bit of a market update and also just what's happening next in my world. So I'm not on my roof, like I said before, and I think the reason why is obvious. I'm looking into doing some Zoom things with people, but it's just kind of tough right now for everyone to make time for things that aren't entirely essential. So hopefully I'll have some more interviews and fun things on my property and on my roof. But in the meantime, I want to give you something that I still think is valuable. And that's just a little bit of what's going on in real estate in central Kentucky. In terms of real estate moving and transactions happening, the world is still spinning. I've probably said this elsewhere on my social media, but it's true. Houses are closing, banks are still giving out loans, and people still need to sell, people still need to buy. Not everyone is affected in the economic way that their next door neighbor might be affected, or that their mom or that their dad might be affected. And, obviously, my heart goes out to people who are suffering economically, and certainly those who are physically suffering because of this disease. But there are some people who are not in that situation. And for that reason, central Kentucky real estate is alive and well. Now, some things have changed. I've been sitting in on classes and reading books and taking time with my clients to just do some extra special things for them. But in the time that I've done market research since all of this has began, there are some very overarching things that are true. The first thing is from a lender perspective. They're still lending money. Now, depending on who you choose, whether it's Chase Bank or Bank of America or Stockton Mortgage or whomever, their changes there are different changes. Stockton Mortgage, for instance, they are still doing FHA loans. They are still doing USDA/rural loans, is what they're usually known by, rural loans. They're still doing VA loans. What has changed about them and some other lenders is that they have restricted how low they'll go on credit. So maybe they used to accept a 590 credit score. Now it might be a 610, a 620. So on a lending scale, you've got, if you're still looking for property, be it a home or land, which we'll sort of talk about the differences between those two things, depending on your credit situation, it may be harder for you. If you've got great credit, you're fine anyway. Interest rates are still fairly low, and that changes from day to day, depending on, things that the CDC says, things that the market does, just from a stock market perspective. But basically, it's a lender by lender thing in terms of how COVID has affected how much risk a lender will take. And that mostly has to do with what is your credit worthiness and also your employment level. I shouldn't say level, your status of employment. If you're furloughed, if you are currently unemployed, then there's not really anything a lender can do for you. If you've got all the cash in the bank and you want to pay all cash, cool. But if you need to borrow money in order to purchase a property and you are just currently not working, my camera cut off on me there. But even if you're expecting to go back to work, if you are not currently earning a paycheck from an employer, there's not a lot that a lender can do for you besides kind of tell you, here are the steps you would take after you go back to work. And one last thing about lenders is because of things like the SBA loans, due to the stimulus package that the federal government has put together and started to distribute to people, lenders are really, really stretched thin right now, because whether they're in the mortgage sector or they are in the personal banking sector, a lot of their resources have been, shrunken, and now they're trying to provide information and distribute resources and funds to people for the SBA loans, people that are new unemployment recipients, and then they're trying to do refis because the interest rates are still kind of low right now. And then there's people who are still looking to buy a house. So they have less people doing a lot more things. And I say all of that to say, be a little patient. It's a really easy, I think, for a lot of us to say, most of us are at home, most of us have less to do, but in the real estate world, it's not entirely true. And my lending friends they're busting their humps in order to try to get people the things that they need and the things that they want when it comes to finances and their mortgages. So moving on to, residential stuff versus land stuff. We've talked a little bit about like the credit restrictions that have been imposed as a result of all this uncertainty. With land, that is pretty much true too. I mean, the credit stuff applies, but also land is just inherently more risky to lenders than, say, a house, or even a house that's on like 4 or 5 acres or something. If you were looking to purchase raw land, and it was the perfect world where the economy was great, you'd still be looking at higher interest rates and a lot of times much higher down payments and things like that. If you're in the position where your credit's good, you are still employed, your best bet is probably to go to someone like the ag credit is what we call it here in Kentucky. It's known by different names depending on what state you live in, what region you live in. But ag credit, farm credit of Mid-America, like those places are the people that are backed by the government. They have a pot of money that they essentially need to use. I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but there's nothing private about what they do. They're very much in collaboration with the government and have certain quotas that they need to meet. So if you're in the need to borrow money, they're probably going to be your best bet, someone who is governmentally affiliated, whereas private lenders, they're doing a lot of ARMs meaning, adjustable rate mortgages, or balloon borrowing, where at the end of your term, all of that money is due. So I'm not saying it's going to be a perfect storm or all of the things that you really want if you go to a place like Ag Credit, but those types of governmentally affiliated lenders are definitely looking to help people, but they still have risk too. So I'm sure they've made a lot of changes. I couldn't tell you exactly what those changes are, but check that out if you are of the mind to be purchasing land right now and you need to borrow money in order to do it. So what? We did lenders, we did residential credit scores. I think that about covers it. I mean, do your research. Research is key. Everyone is not going to fit into the same box. We understand that. And your situation the best. But that's what I've got for you now. And I really hope that this video finds you well, finds your family well. I hope that maybe you've seen some bright sides to this, such as getting closer to your family, maybe connecting with someone you haven't connected with in a long time, and just overall trying to find gratitude every day, because there is a lot to be grateful for still, and there's a lot good that is still happening in the world. So look for those bright spots. That's what I'm trying to do. It's a rainy day, but you know what? I'm breathing. I'm about to eat some French fries for lunch, even though it's like 3:50. And, I'm just trying to stay positive and trying to help. So if you've got questions, please reach out to me. I don't think that everybody that has a question needs to buy a house or buy a farm right at this moment, but I'm here to be a resource, to be a guiding light in whatever way I can as far as real estate is concerned. So stop by my page, say hi, ask me questions, and I'd be glad to help as best as I can. So for now, adios.